Picture this. You just landed in Miami. You're ready to take in some 3-on-3 women's basketball. You check your phone, and then you see this. Wait, what? That's right. You and 849 other people who were excited to watch Unrivaled in person just had your plans ruined over player health and safety, which is PR speak for injuries. A professional basketball game canceled because of injuries? Now ask yourself, when's the last time you've heard of a professional sports game being canceled due to injuries? Yeah, sounds like something out of a local YMCA rec league, or the kind of league where moms take turns bringing the orange slices. Any way you slice it, Unrivaled, the league that is supposed to change women's basketball, has run into some real snags. Injuries are rising, ratings are falling, and a lot of people are asking questions and pointing fingers. Amidst the calamity, you can't help but think about the one person who would have made everything better, Caitlin Clark.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo. Points of 9 of 13 shooting.
And 12 assists now for Seattle.
Clark answers, and that is the first triple.
While the organizers may not act like it, she was the keystone player for the league. The one who would bring all the casual viewers, maintain the momentum from the 2024 WNBA season, and propel Unrivaled to become a sustainable league that pays players well. They gave Caitlin 1 million reasons to join, but she said hard pass. A lot of people were scratching their heads. How could she turn down $1 million and probably a lot of equity for just a couple of months of work? Well, it turned out to be her highest IQ decision yet. It wasn't just the best decision for her, it was the right move for the WNBA and the players, even if it means Unrivaled fizzles out. Let's get into it because there's controversy around this. Some claim that Caitlin, by not joining and promoting the new league, wasn't putting women's basketball first. But when you really look at it, she 100% was. They just can't see it. But first, like this video if you think Unrivaled will be done within the next 3 years. Comment if you think it survives.
Being out as Hall drives to the basket, side of the floor, a deep triple for Howard. All-time stuff from Courtney Williams and Alicia Gray.
Now let's first understand the sheer gravity of Caitlin's decision. We've got to understand her pull. By pull, I'm talking about the insane attention she attracts. Let's go rapid fire. She had the most dominant rookie season ever. 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. If stats were food, that would be a balanced breakfast. Single season record for points by a guard, single season assist record for any position, rookie of the year, 4th in MVP voting. The list goes on. Despite what the haters will say, that she only got hype because of her color. Yes, I'm still not over that Sheila Johnson interview.
I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented.
She was electrifying crowds with her on-court performance. Speaking of crowds, Caitlin made the Indiana Fever the most watched team in women's basketball. They averaged over 17,000 fans per game, and their televised games were the most watched all year long. Viewership went up league-wide by 170%. Pretty much every game with over 1 million TV viewers featured Caitlin Clark. Some of her games had higher ratings than NBA games airing at the same time. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. A WNBA rookie drawing more eyeballs than some of the NBA's biggest stars. She single-handedly transformed the league, setting it and the players on the path to big paydays in the future. Remember this point as we go along because it's critical to understanding why her decision was so important long-term, even if there's a short-term and potentially disastrous impact on Unrivaled. So let's get back to Unrivaled. When they offered her $1 million to play, everyone assumed she'd say yes. Social media was buzzing with anticipation leading up to the big unveiling of Unrivaled's teams, only to find out a few hours later that she was turning down the league to focus on rest. While the league's organizers expressed only mild disappointment, they knew what kind of a blow this was, not just to the league and the ratings, but to what Unrivaled was trying to accomplish. In case you didn't know, many players in the WNBA could make more money managing the car wash at Buc-ee's. For a professional league, it just doesn't pay well. Unrivaled was supposed to be the catalyst for change, it paid better than the WNBA, which players hoped would put pressure on the W to increase compensation. With the CBA set to be renegotiated, this was seen as the perfect time to exert some pressure on the league after its record-breaking year. So, by Caitlin not playing, this was theoretically threatening the livelihood of a league that paid players better. Well, many couldn't see this at the time, but it's the opposite. Her decision to stay out of Unrivaled was by far the best move for women's basketball. Here's why. First, let's go back to Caitlin's rationale for the snub. Rest. This wasn't just about taking it easy. It was about injury prevention. And man, oh man, did she make the right move. With the crowds as tiny as they are, Unrivaled may as well host their games at an urgent care clinic because the injuries are piling up. Alyssa Thomas, Tiffany Hayes, Kayla McBride, Kate Martin, Brittany Sykes, Natasha Cloud, Marina Mabry, all of them are out. Now, 7 players might not seem like a big deal, until you remember Unrivaled only has 36. That means nearly 20% of the league is hurt. As a result, they've canceled a game and abbreviated their one-on-one tournament. Not a good look. And many saw this epidemic coming from a mile away. Unlike traditional 5-on-5 basketball, Unrivaled uses full court 3-on-3. Sure, it's non-stop, fast-paced action, but that right there is the problem. That kind of pace takes a toll on your body, no matter how great an athlete you are. Even the Big Three men's 3-on-3 league, which stars former NBA players who can handle the rigors of an NBA season, only plays half court.
Nice block by Sean Williams.
Legs.
Oh, what a play. Big offensive rebounds. Defending Beasley. So good going right.
They know that full court 3-on-3 is brutal on the body. Constant sprinting, cutting, and defending. And when players get gassed, that's when injuries happen. Fatigue kills form and reaction time. A player is way more likely to roll an ankle, pull a hamstring, or tweak a knee when they're exhausted. With Unrivaled only having 6 players per team, they just don't have the depth to accommodate injuries. Every player that goes down adds another 20% workload for each remaining player, if I'm doing my math right. And the talent pool waiting in the wings to sign as an injured reserve is pretty shallow, which ultimately leads to a diminished on-court product. Now let's go back to Caitlin. Just imagine for a second that she committed to Unrivaled, was lighting it up, then tore her ACL in a freak accident. The biggest star in women's basketball, and arguably the most marketable female athlete in the world, could be sidelined for her highly anticipated second WNBA season. And then, there's no guarantee that she'd come back and be the same player. Now, you might be saying, oh, come on, that wouldn't happen. And you could be right. But the only way for Caitlin to be 100% sure it doesn't happen is to not play in Unrivaled. The way I see it, the $1 million she forfeited was an investment in her career, the WNBA, and women's basketball as a whole. Because don't kid yourself, without a healthy Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would be back to its normal, slow but steady growth trajectory. Ratings would drop, and the pie the players want a piece of would end up a lot smaller. Speaking of ratings drops, Unrivaled's got a problem there too. When the league first launched, things looked promising. It debuted with over 300,000 viewers per game, which, for a brand new league, was solid.
3-on-3, there are always more room for development, the actions that you can get into. Gray, a deep triple, yes!
But then reality hit. Hard. Viewership plummeted to just 160,000 per game on average, which is about a 50% drop. And now, with the injuries piling up, games being canceled, and in-season tournaments condensed, the league's facing an uphill battle. Really, it was uphill to begin with. It's a competitive landscape for a new sports league. There's NFL playoffs, the NBA, NCAA basketball, a ton of options to keep sports fans satiated. Despite Unrivaled boasting many of the WNBA's top players, there's only one who can cut through the noise and lure the casual sports fan. And yeah, the Swifties. And that's Caitlin. In a previous video, I estimated that she personally doubled WNBA viewership last season, and with her impact magnified in a league with fewer teams and players, her impact would be amplified. She could have tripled or quadrupled Unrivaled's ratings, and this brings me to why this was a genius move for Caitlin. Even if she didn't mean it in an I'll show you kind of way, she is kind of showing them what happens without her. Her absence further reinforces her importance, and in a twisted way, the worse Unrivaled performs, the more Caitlyn's brand value rises. On the surface, the idea of Unrivaled struggles benefiting a single player's brand sounds bad, but it's the reality. And the good news is that a rising Caitlyn tide lifts all boats. Think of it this way. We all know Caitlyn's impact on ratings. She's in high demand. I would argue that Caitlyn not playing in Unrivaled gives fans time to miss her. As they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and there's no doubt that anticipation is building for the 2025 WNBA season. And with all the moves the Fever made to stack the team around Caitlyn, you just know ratings will be off the charts. A healthy and rested Caitlyn, dominating on women's basketball's biggest stage in a true best versus best format, draws the most eyeballs to the women's game and creates value for the league and all players. And that's where Caitlyn has been incredibly consistent and, I would say, shrewd. She understands her value and uses it to elevate the WNBA and its players. Here's another example. Not long ago, she turned down the NBA All-Star Game's three-point challenge because she wanted her first three-point contest to be at the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis this year. Sure, there'll be plenty of focus on Caitlyn, but so many fresh eyes will be exposed to the talent of her fellow All-Stars, locking in new fans. That was a move that even Sheryl Swoopes had to respect, given that the year before, Sabrina Ionescu took up the NBA's offer while not taking part in the WNBA's version. Caitlyn knows that drawing eyeballs to the WNBA is the best way to increase visibility and revenue to support higher wages for all, instead of trying to build multiple leagues and potentially diluting interest. Because let's be real, if WNBA player wages increase dramatically with the new CBA, Unrivaled isn't really necessary. In that sense, Caitlyn not playing in Unrivaled and instead focusing on WNBA success is better for women's basketball players, even if it means Unrivaled suffers from her absence. Now, in case I didn't make this clear, I do not want Unrivaled to fail. And I'm not saying it will fail without Caitlyn Clark. It's got great financial backing, huge sponsors, and a TV deal. It's a nice idea. Building a fan base takes time, and the league has time to learn from mistakes and adjust. Some of the action has been solid and some has been just okay. But the reality is that a big WNBA pay bump will force more stars other than A'ja Wilson, Caitlyn Clark, and Kelsey Plum to sit out, which will diminish quality. Perhaps a condensed 5-on-5 World Cup-like tournament played over the course of a few weeks in front of sellout crowds with a $5 million purse would create intrigue and viewership while ensuring a top-quality product. Now, a format like that may or may not happen. But here's what we do know. Caitlyn made the right move for herself and women's basketball, because a healthy Clark in the WNBA with a strong supporting cast is what the league needs to lift all boats, even if it means Unrivaled fizzles out. If you got this far, drop a basketball emoji in the comments so I can say thank you personally. See you next time.